Tennessee's 2024 baseball championship is far more impressive than the 1998 national championship team. And the reason I say that is because it was cobbled together with a coach that had no ties to the University of Tennessee. He was hired by an athletic director that obviously things didn't work out, but he sure did. Talking about Vitello. Philip Fulmer was born, bred, and raised through Tennessee's football program. So was Johnny Majors. That set up Tennessee's 1998 national championship team. Good for them, but they had to toil for 30 years to do that. This is Tony Vitello's from scratch 7th year. If I compare the two championships, they're not even close. Tennessee's 2024 baseball championship is more impressive than the 1998 national championship season. Tell me I'm wrong, Caleb.
Here's why you're wrong. If you looked at it from a program perspective, you are right. Philip Fulmer, let's just break this. Philip Fulmer took over a program that was already a top 10 program and had all the support and resources possible to be great. There were a lot of things that went into play that allowed him to get the talent. Tony Vitello, like you said, had to build a program from absolute scratch that really had never been that successful. They had a couple College World Series appearances. They had like 4 in school history, but they had not really been anything successful. So you are right about that. You are very right. But in a vacuum, the season itself, no, the 98 national title was more impressive. Because think about this, Dave. Tennessee, in 1998, they entered 1998 having to replace their greatest quarterback in school history. They have to replace their go-to receiver in Marcus Nash. They have to replace arguably one of their, top 3 best defensive players in school history in Leonard Little that year. And, I mean, they lost 6 All-SEC performers, 2 All-Americans, and they start the year on the road at Syracuse with Donovan McNabb, and then the next game they have to play number 2 Florida while they are supposed to be in a rebuilding year. That's incredible. They somehow get past those 2 games. And just when things are looking up, their best weapon goes down for the season in Jamal Lewis.
You know the best part of your argument, right?
What?
People around Tennessee's program are used to it, but it's replacing Peyton Manning. Do you still kind of scratch your head and think, how in the world did Tennessee win a championship the year after Peyton Manning, their best player ever, left? Paris Hilton even says,
that's hot.
Caleb, that's the thing that we sometimes take for granted, don't you think?
Yeah, I think part of it was, look, there's a lot of things to criticize about Fulmer's coaching here and there at different times. And I think the biggest difference between 97 and 98, Dave, across the board, the coaching was significantly better in 98 than it was in 97. Despite the same staff, they did a much better job. 97, and we've had Fred White talk about this a lot too. One, they put Leonard Little at middle linebacker, which you've talked about was terrible. But the other point was, as Fred White has pointed out a lot, they put a lot on Peyton Manning that year. They really didn't give him a run game until halfway through the season with Jamal Lewis. They really were asking him to just completely run the offense with no help.
And it wasn't just not using Jamal Lewis. It was also not handing the ball to Mark Levine. If you thought he was better and he was a better pass protector, you still have to hand him the ball.
Exactly.
So, no, I'm with you completely. Now, can I fortify your argument here a little bit? Well, I guess it'd be fortifying my argument. Both. You are in an area in East Tennessee that has a lot of talent around it. I understand that it's not an incredibly talented state. Baseball, you can't rely on in-state talent. So I guess I'm strengthening my argument. And that is Tennessee has had to go coast to coast to get the top baseball talent. And they've done that. They pulled players from all over the place. They haven't been married to South Florida like Rod Delmonico was. They haven't continued to try to play the transfer game as they did with Ahuna, and that didn't work out. This is a baseball program that can recruit with anybody in the nation. Tennessee can as well, but maybe not to this ilk now that the Vols are national champions. I mean, that ring is going to win you some prospects.
Yes, well, but that goes to the point though. If you talk about overall program building of what led to the national championship, Tony Vitello's job is way more impressive than Philip Fulmer's. Way more, not even close. But if you talk about the coaching job in a vacuum of that season, it's Fulmer in 98, and it's not even close. Whatever you guys think about Fulmer and the coaching staff, that 98 coaching job, that's one of the most flawless, superb coaching jobs I've ever seen a program do. Okay, and I mean...
Okay, but to strengthen my argument, he stepped into that coaching staff too. That coaching staff was already pretty well put together when he took the job in 92.
But wait, yes, that's why I'm saying no, but that's my point. If you talk about who was more impressive with what they took over, it's Vitello. Vitello built a program. I'm talking about the vacuum of the season itself. Forget what they took over. Forget everything. Just think
the vacuum of the season itself. I'm totally with you. Given how
it's 98.
Now, more impressive in terms of a storyline, that was Tennessee football. Now, I'm going to split hairs with you here, okay? That was an impressive storyline because you had beating Florida. You had the you had the Arkansas game with the fumble. You had playing a Florida State team. You had the comeback in the SEC championship. I mean, it's almost like I wrote a book about it. I know quite a bit about it. But Tennessee's baseball season and championship is more impressive because why? They're the first SEC team to win 60 games, and they're the first Tennessee baseball team to win a championship. They were far more dominant. So let me go with this. The 98 team in a vacuum, as you say, was more compelling. Okay. This baseball team was far more dominant. Are you cool with that?
I'm cool with that. This baseball team was more dominant. This baseball team, put it this way, they were a better baseball team than the 98 team was a football team.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yes. But what the 98 team overcame is just so impressive. I don't know of a college football team that overcame more from just on the field. I don't mean like we know at tragedies off the field, things like that. But like what the 98 team overcame to win it. Again, you're replacing your quarterback. You lost 6 All-SEC players, 2 All-Americans. You lost a ton of players to the draft. And you come out of the gate having to play 2 teams that made BCS Bowls that year, one on the road as your first game with the new quarterback, and then Florida at home, who you hadn't beaten in 5 years. And then just when you get it rolling, your best player goes down with a season-ending injury as you have to go face another undefeated top 10 team on the road in Georgia. I mean, and that's why I say that was just – and again, overall, look, Tony Vitello would never – I'll say this much for Tony Vitello. He would never make the mistakes that Fulmer, Cutcliffe, and Chavis made in 97. Is that fair? He would never make those type of coaching blunders because those are some bad blunders that all 3 of them made. But at the same time,
Not in Red made me giggle on the message board. So you tell me that Tony Vitello is a better coach than Philip Fulmer? That's what you're saying.
I am, but I am saying Philip Fulmer's coaching job in 98 is one of the most impressive coaching jobs of any coach of all time. I mean, for some reason, Philip Fulmer was good at this. He somehow managed things well when his back was against the wall. But once the wind was at his back, he always squandered it. Isn't that what it seemed like?
Yeah. And Mead Drinkers on the message board, he was one of the first to say, hey, you need to check out this baseball team, and good call by that. But he said, will this team go down as one of the best ever teams? I think it will. And the cool part is you don't usually look at what guys do in the major leagues to look at the best college baseball teams ever. You do that a lot of times in football, right? You look at what they do in the NFL, but you don't do that in college baseball. Yeah, I think it goes down as one of the greatest teams ever. I don't think there's any question about that. And if not for that one slip up against Evansville, I mean, it's okay to lose in the College World Series finals, but you shouldn't have lost to Evansville. Maybe that'll be the one thing that's going to keep them from being considered one of the greatest ever. But I'm not going to pretend to know college baseball well enough to call them one of the best teams ever. But let's do remember that there was a good portion of some great teams that used trampoline bats that almost killed people. So a lot of those teams, to me, get struck out of the conversation, just like Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, and Sammy Sosa do when it comes to steroids. So strike them out of the conversation. Yeah, there's no question in my mind that Tennessee is posted one of the best seasons, is one of the best baseball teams in the history of college baseball. And I will stand by that statement, Caleb. I don't think there's really any argument to be had with 60 wins, regular season champion, conference championship, which basically means nothing, and then winning the College World Series. What more do you have to do?
Yeah, no, this team was super dominant all year. So, I mean, you have to give a lot of credit to this team and everything they did. And I'm not denying that. They're loaded with talent. By the way, I just want to point this out. It's not like the 98 team wasn't loaded with talent. I mean, people say the 97 and 99 teams had more talent. I sometimes push back on that. That's a debate I would have with you or Fred White. I'm not so sure the 99 team was more talented than the 98 team. And I've had that thought for a while. But this team was certainly...
I think it was just because of experience. Now, Jimmy said something on the message board, not to go after Jimmy, but Jimmy said Randy Sanders' first OC job was against Florida State. Cutcliffe left before the national championship game against Florida State. Mickey Andrews was the DC at Florida State. They were clueless about Sanders. What would Sanders call an offense? Are you telling me that Tennessee had a better chance of winning the game without David Cutcliffe as a part of the coaching staff? Come on.
Yeah, that's.
By the way, he went to Ole Miss. But yeah, he went to Ole Miss. For those that don't know, that's silly. He probably wrote up the game plan, and I know that he helped prepare it. Even
and by the way, Tennessee, what was the key play of that game? The Dwayne Goodrich pick six. What did the offense coordinator have to do with that? And the other key play was a bomb to Peerless Price. David Cutcliffe was calling bombs to Peerless Price all year. But the reason I say the 98 team might have been better is...
fact, too, that was just a better football team, especially with Marcus Outson, the third-string quarterback, under center for the Seminoles. I mean, those two teams weren't even close on that day, personally, my opinion. Yeah,
exactly. And where I was going to get at was with... So I get you saying you think the 99 team was more talented with experience, but the 98 team... I mean, let's think about the significant losses. You don't replace Al Wilson and Peerless Price. I mean, Cedric Wilson, you respect Cedric Wilson, but he's not on Peerless Price's level.
Oh, I know. If you look at it analytically, you love analytics, you would say it's more talented. But Al Wilson, Hart, Peerless Price, Clutch, which I know you don't believe in. But, I mean,
I do with Peerless Price.
Okay, those two
and
things.
Jeff Hall, too, who was way better than Alex Walls. Like, that's a giant drop-off in kicking.
Yeah, great point all around. Hit that like and subscribe button. Do it now. Let's take a look at this poll question we have going on the YouTube message board that we want you to vote on. What was Tennessee's better national championship? We use the word better instead of compelling or most dominant because it allows it to be open to interpretation. The 1998 football team gets 56% of the vote. The 2024 baseball team gets 42% of the vote. I'll be honest. I'm a little surprised the baseball team's holding tight. This tends to be a football channel, a football city, a football program. I thought the 98 football team would run away with it, Caleb. I'll be honest. And maybe they will. It's at 59 to 41% right now. Go ahead and vote on our YouTube page. Thoughts?
People are also prisoners of the moment a lot of times. And
I think we are too, right?
I'm never a prisoner of the moment. I don't know what you're talking about. I am always right and always objective 1,000% of the time.
It's so humble. That's what I love.
Yeah, my opinions are always right. So
love the humbleness.